Dr. Chopra, again, it's an honor. Most of it, or a lot of us out here have intractable pain. For example, I have degenerative disc disease, have had it for 4 years, and spondylitis. And I'm wondering if, first of all, if you know, is there a way that we can learn to control that pain without narcotics? And as a corollary, why are doctors today so, when you have empirical evidence of pathology, reluctant to prescribe medications like that, number one? Number two, what is your perspective on objective reality? Do you think that there is objective reality, or is it subjective? Lastly, there's a lot of talk about the veil becoming thinner between this world and the next. I wonder what your perspective is on that. I'll hang up, and thank you, George.
Okay, thank you.
There are lots of questions. First of all, pain. Pain can be dealt with through meditation, through biofeedback, through acupuncture, through various kinds of massage procedures, through sensory modulation. There are many ways to stimulate your own endorphins or internal narcotics or opiates. And more ways are being recognized. Even music can be used to cause the release of certain kinds of opiates which will cause amazing types of pain relief. Doctors are beginning to understand that we have an internal pharmacy, and that, in fact, this internal pharmacy makes wonder drugs. It makes immunomodulators, it makes antibodies, it makes opiates, you name it, the body can make it in the right dose at the right time for the right organ. There are no side effects, and all the instructions are there in the packaging, which is your own soul, yourself. So doctors are learning this, and we should give them a little bit of more time, and they will certainly, you will see that this will become part of mainstream medicine.
But it's not to say if for some reason your physician has recommended that you take a blood pressure pill,
absolutely,
that you don't get off that. No.
There's no substitute for good medical advice, standard medical advice. Everything I'm saying is an integration and complementary approach that helps standard medicine. We should also know, though, that sometimes, 80% of the population in the United States swallows in medically prescribed chemical every 24 hours, and that may be overdoing it.
Sure, absolutely.
So, and then he asked about subjective and objective reality. And the answer is all reality is subjective. It's created in your brain, and it depends on how you interpret it. Without you, consciousness, interpreting a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing soup, the universe would remain unmanifested. So the whole basis of modern science, that there's a world out there independent of us, is not really tenable.
Our guest tonight, of course, Deepak Chopra. You've seen him and have read some of his books. He's got lots of them out. How many books have you written?
Close to 40 now.
40. Good for you.
This is my most exciting.
The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, Harnessing the Infinite Power of Coincidence. We got one more hour of your phone calls and Dr. Chopra. So don't go away. We'll be right back. And, of course, my guest, Dr. Deepak Chopra. And we'll be back with him and your phone calls in this final hour of Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norrie with my very special guest tonight, Deepak Chopra, and, of course, your phone calls. If they go through the specific steps, the 7 steps, Deepak, that you've brought out in your book, how long will it take people to be able to really begin to sense that there's a change, there's a direction change in their life?
Well, I've been on a book tour, the last 2 weeks, and every day I meet somebody that takes me around in a different city, and I explain the 7 steps to them while we are in the car, and by the time they drop me back at the airport the next day, they're already having the experiences. So the fact is, all it takes is a shift of attention, a shift of awareness, and it's very simple. People start to have the experience, and then, of course, it becomes reinforcing. What happens is, once you have a certain experience, you get the confidence that it's really happening. It starts to happen more and more.
Very good. Let's go back to the calls. Let's go east of the Rockies. Welcome to Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Chopra, it's really great to be on the line with you.
Thanks.
I have one question.
Yes.
Is if you have found any relation between some enlightenment that people might gather from the use of entheogens or hallucinogens such as LSD or mescaline, and is there any real positive aspect to that in reaching?
In many cultures throughout the world, they have used hallucinogenic plants to cause shift in consciousness. Now, in most of these cases, 99.999% of these cases, the procedure is done in a ritualized manner, in a controlled manner. And many people's first experience of higher consciousness is in fact through mushrooms or through LSD, etc., in these cultures, including, some of the traditions in India. But as a general use, I would not recommend taking drugs to experience higher consciousness, because first of all, the drugs that we have right now are mostly synthetic drugs. The person who takes them usually gets them illegally. The dose you can easily overdose on them. They are addictive. But the short answer to your question is, in cultures, in many cultures, traditional cultures, including American Indian shamans and in Brazil and in India and the Aborigines, through ritual, people have used natural consciousness-altering substances.
And that's the reason I asked, because I've done a lot of reading and I've done a bit of experimenting myself, I have to admit. But so you will not admit, but you do agree that these substances, when used in a proper fashion,
in the proper context,
and
yes,
can lead to this
expanded
or this enlightenment,
yes,
that you speak of.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And George Norrie, thank you. And I really appreciate your show a great deal. And Mr. Chopra, I wish you could get your books out to a lot more people than you do right now. You're a great man, and thank you both.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I don't know. If you got him out to any more people, we'd run out of paper on this planet, wouldn't we? When did you first start writing books?
When did I first start writing books?
Yeah.
Actually, I used to edit my school newspaper and then my college newspaper, so I used to write articles. And when I was a medical student, I started to collect the histories of my patients, the ones that were doing extraordinarily different from the others. But I wrote my first book after I had become a physician, and that was now almost 30 years ago.
And you now still travel around the country, do you not?
I travel throughout the world once a year, and so I'm traveling about 10 days out of the month.
Wow. And that 10 days out of the month every month?
Almost on an average, yes.
Okay, good for you. And for people who might want to know your itinerary, where you're going to be next.
Actually, it's posted on our site on chopra.com. There's a calendar, and you can see where I am. In fact, people tell me I'm going to be here the following day, etc., etc. So my itinerary is public.
Very good. Let's go west of the Rockies. Welcome to Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hi, good evening, George. This is Richard in Las Vegas.
Hi, Richard.
It's a pleasure to talk with you as usual.
Thank you.
Dr. Chopra, I appreciate you staying up this extra time.
Thank you, sir.
To speak with us. My question involves passion and patience and its integration in achieving what we want, not necessarily from an ego point of view, but from the point of view of being able to, like in my case it was art, to be able to do exactly what I wanted to do all my life, because the passion drove the patience to get there. And a lot of what you have been saying, I had from an early age, I guess maybe 15 or 16, I had started studying martial arts and got into the spiritual aspects of it. I ended up learning a lot of, and I do a lot of meditation, including every.
The corollary, why are doctors today so, when you have empirical evidence of pathology, reluctant to prescribe medications like that, number one? Number two, what is your perspective on objective reality? Do you think that there is objective reality, or is it subjective? Lastly, there's a lot of talk about the veil becoming thinner between this world and the next. I wonder what your perspective is on that. I'll hang up, and thank you, George.
Okay, thank you.
There are lots of questions. First of all, pain. Pain can be dealt with through meditation, through biofeedback, through acupuncture, through various kinds of massage procedures, through sensory modulation. There are many ways to have an internal pharmacy, and that, in fact, this internal pharmacy makes wonder drugs. It makes immunomodulators, it makes antibodies, it makes opiates, you name it, the body can make it in the right dose at the right time for the right organ. There are no side effects, and all the instructions are there in the to stimulate your own endorphins or internal narcotics or opiates. And more ways are being recognized. Even music can be used to cause the release of certain kinds of opiates, which will cause amazing types of pain relief. Doctors are beginning to understand that we.
Dr. Chopra, again, it's an honor. Most of it, or a lot of us out here, have intractable pain. For example, I had degenerative disc disease, have had it for 4 years, and spondylitis. And I'm wondering if, first of all, if you know, is there a way that we can learn to control that pain without narcotics? And